After watching Raw tonight, I'm left feeling indifferent. I think that's a good word to use because the Beth Phoenix Randy Orton segment in the main event, that certainly delivered. The opening segment with Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed Kairi Sane against Shayna Baszler. And I was entertained by the Street Profits winning the tag titles and bits of that tag team match where Garza, Mysterio, Carrillo, and Andrade went at it. So, in that regard, this was an entertaining show. I don't want to use the word good because I don't feel like this was a good Raw. It just had its moments. Like, the moments were distributed throughout the show. Now, granted, this Raw did have a long stretch during the middle of it with the Aleister Black and the OC gauntlet. That was just boring. I'm sorry, why did they do that? Aleister Black versus AJ Styles was advertised, and then they diverted away from that because they realized, oh, crap, this is actually too good a match to just show on Raw. So instead we got Aleister Black against Carl Anderson, and then Aleister Black won with the Black Mass. Then we got Aleister Black against Luke Gallows, and Aleister Black won by DQ. And then AJ Styles, Aleister Black was rushed, and AJ Styles just won and did the Undertaker Tombstone pinfall. So, that was whatever. That took up way too much TV time. The stuff with Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, whatever. Don't really care. It's just not interesting at all. It's not being portrayed well enough. And then Riddick Moss in the 24/7 title. Why is Ricochet having a 24/7 title match on TV? Why is Riddick Moss winning? If you want to really push Riddick Moss, having him as the 24/7 champion is not a great way to go. So, that was basically the show. The way they did it, everything felt like it had some importance. But at the same time, that's also because everything got a bunch of time, especially that gauntlet. That gauntlet was drawn out so much. I can't emphasize, if you didn't watch the show, how long-winded this gauntlet thing was. It's we all knew Aleister Black, when he has to fight each member of the OC before he gets to fight Styles, that he'd beat Anderson and Gallows because they're losers, and then he'd probably fall short to Styles. But yet, we had to sit through half an hour of TV time watching that. Was there any need? Either do Black Styles or can the match and just do a promo segment or something. You don't need to force Aleister Black to beat these losers and then have him lose to Styles. That's 50-50 booking at its best, and it makes both people, or both factions, look redundant. So, that was that. On the whole, I'd say the show was watchable. It wasn't a great show. It had its moments, especially the opening and the ending, and then Sane and Baszler to an extent, but that was realistically Raw. So, I'll get into this. Basically, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar come out to open Raw for March 2nd, 2020. Heyman saying that Drew McIntyre is not a legit, credible threat to Brock Lesnar in the main event, and how their match at WrestleMania, it shouldn't even be Brock against Drew because Drew doesn't deserve it. So really emphasizing that Drew's not a legit number one contender. So from here, the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre interrupts. So he made his statement with actions. He didn't talk this time. He literally hits a Claymore on Brock Lesnar. And then, when you thought that was it, he ended up hitting another Claymore, and the crowd's chanting, na 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 na, hey hey hey, goodbye. So Lesnar and Heyman leave up the ramp, and then McIntyre hits a third Claymore. And so he's pointing at the sign, so Drew McIntyre stands tall. This was just really good. Simple, effective, engaging, entertaining. Having McIntyre stand tall over Brock here, I was a big fan of what they did in this segment. I was entertained by it. Heyman's promo was pretty good. So I liked how they opened Raw. The crowd was engaged and into it in Brooklyn, so that was really good. The first segment to Raw, I was entertained by, I liked. So from here, we moved on with the show to Seth Rollins and Murphy against the Street Profits for the Tag Team Championships again. This is a rematch of Super Showdown, where Rollins and Murphy retained. I don't know why this was happening again. And in the end, the Street Profits are the new Tag Team Champions. So pretty much the whole thing with this was that, the Street Profits are coming down, and then Rollins and his disciples jump them. And then Kevin Owens came out and, made sure the match actually got going. So we got, a little bit of Rollins and Murphy against the Street Profits, but this was hardly a match. It was pretty much just AOP getting involved a bunch, Kevin Owens then getting involved as well. It was complete chaos. This was just a further continuation of this Rollins against Owens with the disciples and the Street Profits and the Viking Bunch, all these guys. It was just a further continuation of this. At least it wasn't a 6-man or an 8-man tag. But at the same time, I didn't really care. Because the way they're doing this is just match after match, week after week. There's not giving this enough air to breathe. It's just the same matches week after week. Here, having the Street Profits beat Rollins and Murphy, the way they did it, I mean, okay, the Street Profits are tag team champions. But how have they been booked in their time on Raw? That's the main question I ask. On Monday Night Raw, how have the Street Profits been used? They've been Saturday Night Live presenters doing skits with edited laughs over the top of it. They've been doing backstage hosting for Raw, unofficial hosting. And they've won a couple of matches. Like, the Street Profits, because there's like no tag team division on Raw, and because Vinnie Mac couldn't care less about the tag team division on any show, they're just suffering. So they win the tag team championships here after Kevin Owens hits a stunner on Rollins, and then Montez Ford hits a splash on Rollins to get the pinfall. So this builds up Kevin Owens against Seth Rollins. Good. This builds up the Street Profits against Rollins and Murphy again at the Chamber. So that's what we're getting there. This was alright. And then we move to Riddick Moss versus Ricochet for the 24/7 title. This, I just totally zoned out. I assume Ricochet would have won, but he didn't, which I found this bizarre to watch. So Riddick Moss is just this guy who, if you haven't been watching Raw, they're really trying to push him, but at the same time, it's in the 24/7 title picture. A million quotations around picture. It's like Riddick Moss had the matches with R-Truth and Mojo Rawley, two guys who don't even belong on TV and are wasting worthwhile salary space on the WWE payroll. So Riddick Moss beat Rawley and R-Truth. Now Riddick Moss is having 24/7 title matches against Ricochet. As if this belt means anything and it's worthwhile having matches for on Raw. The same belt which Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, all the losers backstage aimlessly chase around. That belt, now all of a sudden Riddick Moss is having matches with Ricochet. Last time I checked, like random movie stars and celebrities were pinning R-Truth and winning this title. So the fact that they're having matches for this belt on Raw just baffles me. Anyway, Riddick Moss just retained by pinfall, and they were selling that Ricochet was tired from his match against Brock and whatnot. Like, okay. Anyway, we move on. The Aleister Black Gauntlet versus the OC. This I didn't like. I really didn't, because you've got to remember, by this stage of Raw, we've had the good opening segment with McIntyre and Brock, so I enjoyed that. We had the tag title thing, which Marks will just say, oh, well, there's new champions, you should like it. But just because there's new champions doesn't mean it's logical and good and makes sense. And then we had the Riddick Moss thing. So now, like, the show's, it's going in this, like, downward trend. By this point, we're, like, beginning the second hour, the show's, like, it's alright. So we get to this Aleister Black Gauntlet versus Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and AJ Styles, the OC. Pretty much, this was just, like, what if AJ Styles tells The Undertaker, or he addresses The Undertaker that he'd make short work of Aleister Black, but Aleister Black first has to fight Carl Anderson and then Luke Gallows. Okay. So AJ Styles is going to go to WrestleMania and have a match with The Undertaker, but Aleister Black, who's this guy who hasn't lost legitimately on Raw in like 6 months, he can't beat him clean before that match with The Undertaker. He has to rely on help from the OC. So Aleister Black proceeds to spend literally 20 minutes. Actually, it was more than that, because by the time you put commercials and all the BS in between, so he has this match with Aleister Black. Anderson versus Aleister Black, I completely didn't care. Aleister Black predictably won with the Black Mass. No shockers there. From here, AJ Styles forced Aleister Black to fight Luke Gallows. So Luke Gallows then beat down Aleister Black before the bell. And then they just kept beating him up. And then the OC just hit this magic killer on Black. So Luke Gallows is disqualified. So now Aleister Black is fighting AJ Styles. But Black has just spent 20 minutes being beaten down and it's not a fair fight. So I'm assuming they'll do this match at the Elimination Chamber. I'd assume. I didn't like what they did here tonight, so I didn't really care to see Styles versus Black at the Chamber, but I guess that match will be match of the night, given how the Chamber show's shaping up. Anyway, AJ Styles finally decided he was ready for Aleister Black. This is like 20 minutes in when Aleister Black's like dead. So from here, Black was barely able to stand. Black, he like refused to give up. They did that for like a couple of minutes, and then Styles just hit a phenomenal forearm, and then did the Taker pinfall. So, Aleister Black beats Carl Anderson, beats Gallows by DQ, and then Styles just pins him. Like, this was 50-50 booking to the utmost extent. I didn't like this. So, whatever, moving on. From here, Liv Morgan was set to face Ruby Riott with Sarah Logan as the referee. I like the fact that they're playing off the Riott Squad dynamic, but at the same time, I just didn't care. I really didn't. Like, this Sarah Logan as the referee, she did nothing for me. I mean, Ruby Riott was just beating up Liv Morgan, and this is whatever. I mean, if you missed this, you missed nothing. This was, bland, boring. This is one of the things, as well, the 24/7 title, the gauntlet match, how they booked the tag title win. It's like, stuff like this, it's what makes Raw go from good to mediocre, kind of watchable, but not really watchable, you know what I mean? It's stuff like this. So, yeah, Liv Morgan ends up beating Ruby Riott by pinfall, whatever, moving on. So, from here we go to Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane. Now, this is supposed to be Shayna Baszler versus Asuka. And personally, if they did that match, I would have been stoked. But reasonably so, they saved Shayna Baszler versus Asuka, and they're going to save it for hopefully a pay-per-view after WrestleMania. When Shayna Baszler beats Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship, hopefully they'll save the match for then, because Shayna Baszler versus Asuka for 2 pay-per-views sounds awesome to me. That sounds fresh, exciting, interesting, a very physical, intense program. So yeah, tonight we didn't get Asuka versus Shayna Baszler like was advertised. So to that I say, why even advertise it? Anyway, Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane. This, I thought was pretty good, I mean, you had Becky Lynch on commentary. She was doing her, her tough guy, the man persona on commentary. Trying to sound all ready for, whoever wins the Elimination Chamber on some Sunday night. Okay, Shayna Baszler. Trying to sound all tough when Shayna Baszler inevitably wins, and it's Baszler versus Lynch at WrestleMania. So Becky's trying to sound all tough on commentary. The match itself was actually pretty entertaining. I enjoyed this match. It got given good time. And that's the thing with Raw's episode tonight. Everything they did, as I said, it got good time. It got room to breathe. Granted, the gauntlet match, 24/7 title, the Riot Squad stuff, and, the tag team title match. I didn't want those matches to get as much room to breathe as they did, because they just dragged. But regardless, I thought it was fine. So Shayna Baszler ends up beating Kairi Sane by submission. So yeah, she locked in the Kirifuda clutch and then got the submission win. This match was good. If you didn't see it, check it out. It's worth a watch. I mean, it's nothing you have to see, but it's going to be cool to see Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, and then Shayna Baszler versus Asuka. So that's what we got there. From here we move on. Rey Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo versus Andrade and Angel Garza. I liked it. I was entertained by it. The match didn't go as long as I probably would have wanted. I would have liked to see a bit more from the match. I mean, that's not saying it was bad. It was a good match, but I don't know. Andrade and Angel Garza are both great. Humberto Carrillo and this version of Rey Mysterio, I don't care about. When they do a Fatal 4-Way match at WrestleMania, that's going to be awesome. Hopefully that opens the show and it'll steal the show. But outside of that, these 4 guys, I don't really care as much as I feel I should. The match tonight was entertaining. They're great in-ring wrestlers, but they just need a bit more of a story. It's literally just, they're all of the same heritage, so watch them wrestle. There needs to be a little bit more of a story there. Pretty much the match itself, Mysterio eventually got the hot tag because Humberto Carrillo was getting beaten down for 10 minutes. From here, the faces began taking the fight to the heels. Pretty much the heels on the back foot for a little bit. From here, Rey Mysterio hit a 619 on both Garza and Andrade. Then Carrillo planted Andrade with a moonsault. So Humberto Carrillo and Rey Mysterio win the match. I mean, they're pinning Andrade again here. It's just their way of punishing him. I don't know how he still has the US title, given that he's been suspended for a month and that photo with Charlotte Flair surfaced online. But regardless, it was what it was. From here, we move into the Randy Orton explaining to Beth Phoenix why he attacked Edge segment. This is really good. So, pretty much, Beth Phoenix, she came out, got a really good reaction. She was giving a medical update on Edge. And then Randy Orton just right away came out. I hear voices in my head hit. This was hilarious. Oh, hilarious. It was great TV. So, the Randy Orton, the Viper, he offers a hug to Beth Phoenix. Then he offers to shake her hand. But then the Glamazon just refused, as you would. Randy Orton then sat on the top rope. Beth Phoenix, she began to speak, but then Randy Orton, demanded the microphone. Randy Orton refused to believe that Edge could wrestle again. Randy says that he put over the Rated R Superstar for saving his life, and explained that he assaulted Edge to stop him from putting his life on the line. Okay. From here, Randy wanted Beth Phoenix to have her husband away from wrestling. Then Randy Orton blames Beth Phoenix for enabling him and told her that he loved Edge more than her by stopping him. So, just really good promo by Randy Orton. This heel Randy Orton, the heat he got tonight, it was great, really entertaining. From here, Edge just slapped him. Edge's wife slapped Randy Orton, which was great. And then they did Randy Orton RKO'ing Beth Phoenix. That was awesome. So yeah, that was the show. I gave that final segment. That's an A segment. That was an awesome segment. It was really personal promo, really kind of explaining himself to an extent. Beth Phoenix RKO thing was awesome. Like, I mean, Beth sold it really well. She sold it like she died. I mean, that was really cool. So yeah, Randy Orton cutting promo like this was great. Beth Phoenix selling the RKO like she did was cool. Overall, I'm giving Raw tonight a C. The opening and the main event segments, really entertaining. But the stuff in between, Shayna Baszler, Kairi Sane was good. But outside of that, I mean, the gauntlet stuff, the gauntlet match, the Riddick Moss 24/7 title match, how they booked the tag team title match, like, a bunch of this stuff is just whatever. So, yeah, I'm giving this Raw a C. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Be sure to like, comment, and sub if you did. See ya.